Chapter 53. Adelmo's frustration grew as he witnessed the aftermath of the explosion, causing him to raise his voice in disbelief. "What the hell was that for?" he exclaimed, unable to comprehend the reasoning behind such a destructive act. Samara, who had initiated the explosion, responded calmly but firmly. "I had to do it. I've been out all night fighting off these damn zombies. I couldn't risk those foolish scientists finding a way to replicate this and allowing the infection to spread." Adelmo, still trying to make sense of the situation, challenged Samara's assumption. "But you don't know for sure that they were planning to do that." Samara, confident in her decision, countered, "Why else would they be conducting tests on them? It's clear they were trying to exploit this situation for their own gain." Adelmo pondered for a moment before offering an alternative perspective. "Well, perhaps they were trying to understand the cause of the outbreak and find a way to prevent it from happening again." Lana, who had been listening intently, interjected with a thought-provoking question. "You could be right, but do you really think people are capable of such selflessness?" Samara, her voice filled with conviction, replied, "Everyone is always searching for power and advancement. Even if this had happened in the US, I would have taken the same course of action. This is not something to be taken lightly." Adelmo, though still hesitant, acknowledged Samara's point. "I suppose you have a valid argument, but was it necessary to go to such extreme measures? You've destroyed a piece of history." Samara, unyielding in her stance, responded with a hint of regret. "Do you honestly believe they would have listened to me otherwise? I saw this coming and tried to warn them, but they dismissed it as a joke." Adelmo, realizing the futility of his efforts, looked down and admitted, "No, I guess not. I knew deep down that they wouldn't take it seriously. They underestimated the gravity of the situation." Samara, unsurprised by Adelmo's revelation, replied with a touch of sadness, "I had a feeling you might have known, but even if you hadn't, I would have taken the same action. The potential consequences were too great to ignore." Adelmo's question about potential survivors prompted a moment of reflection from Samara. "Do you think there are any survivors?" he inquired, his voice tinged with concern. Samara paused, considering the gravity of the situation before responding. Samara's observation about the unstable building highlighted the dire circumstances they were facing. Look at the building, it's barely standing," she remarked, her voice filled with a mix of disbelief and apprehension. The precarious nature of their surroundings added an extra layer of tension to their already intense conversation. As Adelmo walks towards the building, his heart races with anticipation. He reaches out and grabs the cold metal handle, his mind filled with questions about the fate of those inside. With a deep breath, he pulls the door open, only to be met with a sight that sends shivers down his spine. The building begins to crumble before his eyes, the sound of crashing debris filling the air. In a split second, Adelmo jumps back, his instincts urging him to retreat to safety. He watches in awe as the once sturdy structure collapses, dust and rubble engulfing everything in its path. Amidst the chaos, Samara's voice cuts through the noise, her words laced with a mix of sarcasm and triumph. "Does that answer your question?" she asks, her tone dripping with a hint of satisfaction. Adelmo, still in shock from the sudden destruction, manages to find his voice. "Okay, fine," he responds, his disbelief evident in his words. "I highly doubt anyone could have survived such a massive explosion, let alone the building crumbling on top of them." Lana, who had been observing the scene with a mix of concern and curiosity, breaks the silence with a question of her own. "So what now?" she asks, her voice filled with uncertainty. Adelmo turns to Samara, his eyes searching for answers. "So, that explains why you didn't answer the door this morning," he says, his voice tinged with accusation. "Did you finish them off? Is there any place you haven't gotten to?" Samara's response is calm and collected, her words revealing a glimpse of the immense task they had undertaken. "I got most of them," she admits, her voice tinged with a hint of exhaustion. "But you know there will always be hidden ones. Besides, the vampires and werewolves have also taken over the cities, clearing them out completely. There isn't much left for us to do here, The day had flown by in a whirlwind of excitement, and now the late afternoon sun cast a warm glow over the bustling streets. Sierra's stomach growled loudly, reminding her that it was time to refuel. She turned to her companions and asked, "I'm famished. Can we find a great place to grab a bite?" Adelmo scanned the surroundings, his eyes darting from one establishment to another. He could see the anticipation in the air as businesses prepared to reopen after a long hiatus. With a mischievous grin, he suggested, "How about it, folks? Shall we embark on a culinary adventure?" The group unanimously agreed, eager to satisfy their hunger pangs. They hopped back into their cars, their excitement palpable as they embarked on a quest to find an open eatery. As they cruised past a row of restaurants, they noticed that although none of them were officially open yet, the owners and staff were hard at work, diligently cleaning and sprucing up their establishments to welcome back customers. It was a heartening sight, a testament to the resilience and determination of the local business community. As they made their way through the deserted streets, they stumbled upon a bustling restaurant that appeared to have been operating without any interruptions. The sight of numerous patrons coming in and out, enjoying their meals, was a stark contrast to the eerily quiet surroundings they had encountered earlier. Intrigued by the lively atmosphere, they made a unanimous decision to step inside rather than waiting for another establishment to open its doors. Upon entering the restaurant, they were greeted by a friendly hostess who informed them of the wait time to be seated. The hostess mentioned that due to the overwhelming response from customers eager to dine out again, the wait could be as long as an hour or two. Adelmo, one of the group members, couldn't help but inquire about the restaurant's operating hours, to which the hostess revealed that they had been fortunate to remain open throughout the day, unlike many others that had to shut down during the crisis. Expressing their gratitude for the information provided, Adelmo and his companions decided to wait patiently for their turn to be seated. As they sat at a nearby table, engaging in conversation with each other, they couldn't help but marvel at the resilience of the restaurant staff and the patrons who continued to support the establishment despite the challenges faced during the recent events. The lively chatter and the aroma of delicious food filled the air, creating a sense of normalcy and comfort in a world that had been disrupted by uncertainty.